Hi, friends, and welcome to this very exciting edition of Reach the World's live stream series for the Endurance22 Expedition. My name is Chris Ahern. I am Director of Partnerships here at Reach the World, and today is a very special day. I am thrilled to see such a large contingent of students, teachers, and other followers from all over the world just to tune into this live stream. So please put your location in the chat box. We want to know where all of you are coming from. Now, before I bring in Tim and our very, very special guests, we have a very special video for you all. I hope you enjoy. Looks like we're having a little bit of trouble with that volume. We're going to see if we can fix that in just 1 second. So I see right now. Well, I see that. Yeah, thank you guys for letting us know that we have that. There we go.
Something we really have to tell you. It's top secret. Well, it's not going to be top secret for long, but it's probably the most exciting news that we could share with you. Celia, do you want to sit? Oh, Celia's being shy. Well, let's see. Let's zoom out a little bit and see if you can guess. Why are all these people out on the ice? Who's driving the AUV? We must have found something, maybe? You think? Psst. Hey, explorers. Celia and I have something we really have to tell you. It's top secret. Well, it's not going to be top secret for long, but it's probably the most exciting news. Psst. Why are all these people out on the ice? Who's driving the AUV? We must have found something, maybe? You think? Steely, you want to tell her? What was that? You guys, we found the Endurance. We did it. We did it. We found it.
Folks, that's right. We found the Endurance. The amazing crew and expeditionary team aboard the SA Gullis II found the Endurance in about 10,000 feet of water in incredibly difficult conditions. And I am so thrilled to be able to welcome not just my friend and colleague, Tim Jacob, but two extremely important people who had massive contributions to this incredible find. So Tim, Mensun, Chad, welcome.
Hello. Hey, Chris. Hey, explorers. Welcome once again to the SA Gullis 2. If you missed all of our previous live streams from the ship in this expedition, you have come to the right one today because we have, as you just saw, some amazing news. If you've been paying attention to the news this morning, it's been going around the world. But you, the students at home and the teachers who've been following us from the beginning, I think we're at somewhere around 25,000 students in 27 countries who have been following this expedition over the course of the last few months. You're the ones we really, really want to celebrate with today, because finding the Endurance is a massive historical achievement. Would not have been possible with all the amazing members of this expedition. And I'm so excited to have two of the most critical members of the expedition sitting here with me today. We have Mensun, Director of Exploration, Marine Archaeologist with the expedition, and Chad Bonin, AUV Supervisor. So AUV Supervisor, I know a lot of you really, really loved the Saab Sabertooth and have all kinds of questions about what was actually happening on the back deck. We couldn't tell you the whole story, but now it's time to spill the beans and talk all about how this expedition, this amazing team, found the wreck of the Endurance. I'm going to say it again 100 times because I still can hardly believe it, that we found the wreck of the Endurance.
Right.
I mean, I believed it, but I didn't believe it until I saw it.
Yeah.
And we saw
shout
it.
it from the rooftops.
We can shout it from the rooftops.
So it's out now.
Why don't I start with you, Ted, because you were always on the back deck. You've been working around the clock to find the Endurance day and night, keeping those AUVs down underwater as long as possible and doing their scanning. What did you feel when you first saw the Endurance pop up on the sonar or the video?
Yeah, it was the first pass was a resolution side scan imagery, but it was a very defined target. So when I walked into the online shelter, the operations center where it was at, we had to still verify it, but when I saw that target, I just, I knew it was more of a defined target. It was something very interesting right there. And legs from the waist down went weak, because the other targets that we were finding throughout the project, they were not as crisp, not as clean as this one. So yeah, it was my first reaction was, we found it, but we have to verify.
Can you just generally describe like what most of the seabed of the Weddell Sea looked like, so we can understand what a target that would experience that level would look like?
Throughout the entire search for the Endurance, the seabed on the Weddell Sea was pretty much flat. So anything out of the ordinary would pop up like red flag. So we found quite a few disturbances with rocks and this and that we thought were very interesting at first, but you have to go and inspect and verify. And you can, usually when you can see that on a resolution scan, right, and you can kind of tell, okay, that might be geology and stuff like that. And that's why I say this one here, it was standing up like the red flag, like a thumb off the seabed, because the rest of everything else was completely flat. And just that defined target, that was what was so interesting about it.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And Mensun, how about you? When you saw that image, what did you feel?
Yeah, well, it's a different story. You remember on the day we were actually in the middle of that great big flow, a big slab of ice. We chewed our way in to get the ship nice and stable to the search. And myself and my colleague John, we'd been sort of talking for a couple of days about how we needed to get off the ship and here to stretch our legs. So there's that big, huge iceberg off to starboard, remember, about a kilometer and a half away. And John and I thought, okay, this is the day. Let's go for a walk, and we'll head out there and check out the iceberg. So we set off together. It was about a little before 4 o'clock. It was. We just didn't know a little after 4 o'clock thing was going to happen. So we went to the iceberg. Must have been away about an hour and a half. There was some Adelie penguins there beside the iceberg, and really enjoying ourselves. We came back to the ship. The moment we set foot on board, the intercom on the ship was yelling our names. Get up to the bridge. Get up to the bridge. So we just raced up the stairs. I happened to look. I didn't see Chad, but I saw one of the other back guys there, and he had this like weird smirk on his face. So John was kind of worried that maybe there'd be an accident with the saber-tooth or something like that. And I kept remembering that look I got. It was some red salt. I got that sort of. And so I thought, okay, this is a good look I was getting. So I'm going up the stairs. running up 3 steps at a time. I think it could be good news. Could be good news. And we got onto the deck there, and the ice skipper was there, Freddie, and the master was there, Knowledge, and Michael Nico was there. He's like in charge of all subsea operations, and he held up his telephone like that to me, and he said, "Gents, I want to introduce you to the Endurance." And it was just the first beautiful picture of it. I mean, it was incredible. We got better pictures in the days that followed. That first picture just blew my brain away.
That's amazing.
Yeah, and it straight away it was Endurance. I mean, there are no other wrecks in the Weddell Sea, and so it has to be the Endurance.
Well, we have all seen the pictures and the videos, and they're sort of running through our minds. But I want to show you now, our student audience, what that AUV saw when it went down for its close inspection. We have a video ready to go that shows some of the highlights. And I'll ask, as Chris is bringing that up on the screen, I want to ask Mensun if he could just sort of explain what we're looking at.
Okay, here we go. I haven't seen this before, but let's try. Okay, here we go. Have you seen this before? Me neither. It's going to take a while, I guess, to say they start now. Nope, stern. Okay.
There you go.
All right, so whoa. Bring back that picture.
So just to let everyone know, while Mensun's taking a look at this and trying to find some spots to narrate, we are on a little bit of a delay. We are talking live with the SA Agulhas 2 as it is currently in transit. Our signal isn't great, so if there's some resolution issues with our friends on board or as you're watching the video, we do apologize, but we want you to understand that this is something where we're able to speak with these amazing explorers live on camera. So we do apologize if there are any issues with that. But if we can maybe just quickly restart the video. I know we've been seeing a few different things. But this footage I believe Mensun begins at the stern. So if you want to maybe talk about what you saw there.
Yeah. Okay, guys, we're at the stern, and the first. Yeah. Okay. So the first thing I draw your attention to is the name of the ship, Endurance, in big, bold, capital letters, right across the stern, and right beneath the name was the Polaris Star, after which it was originally named. And we're looking at the well deck there, and that is the ship's steering wheel. Unbelievable. Now we're coming down from the bow of the ship. We're moving to the back of the ship. We're moving aft, and you can see there the broken foremast snapped off. And again, look at those 2 portholes there, because that's one end of the ship's pantry and galley, and at the bow. Again, a little bit of damage there, but look at the curves. Look at the shape of the bow. That was the part which struck the ice when they were trying to breach the ice. And you can see little animals growing there. I can see an anemone there, a lot of little filter feeders here and there. We even got a crab if you look closely. And now we're down, let's see, around about the midships area. And those dead eyes there are what we call train plates. The ropes that hold up the mast are tied to those dead eyes, those blocks there. And now we're somewhere in the weather deck. No, we're not. We're looking at the water again. Whoa, this is quick. Okay, the Endurance, guys. Look at the piece of wood on the bottom there on the seabed. That is the rudder. That was the source of all their problems, is when the ice got hold of the rudder, it ripped the rudder to one side. And at that moment, all the water started rushing into the Endurance. And at that moment, they all knew that it was game over. And if you look very carefully behind the rudder, you can see where it's been torn away. The timber's just been ripped apart. There's a great big flow of ice that just came right across her stern, and that's what did it for them. That's what finished them off. And later that night, they abandoned the ship. At the moment that happened, they were all downstairs listening to gramophone music. Interesting thing is, they knew something had happened to the ship, but none of them rushed up on deck to see what it was. They wanted to finish the song first. Can you believe it? Okay. That's the end of it.
Yeah, Chris, we can't see the video all that well on this end. I know it's stunning, but we're having a hard time keeping up with where you're viewing it. So maybe we can switch to some of the pictures if you have them ready.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll get those queued up in a second. And just to say again, congratulations to both of you, to the rest of the crew, the rest of the expedition team. I know it truly has been an amazing team unified effort to make all of this happen. It is really incredible, and to hear your stories about how it felt when it happened. We have been absolutely giddy here stateside about everything that's been happening. And let's. I want us to queue up a couple of photos, and then we can maybe talk a little bit about that.
Should have seen the cartwheels and the somersaults this man was doing on the back deck.
I did not do cartwheels and somersaults. I'm a dignified archaeologist.
Yeah.
This is still, it's a stern again. Yeah, it was really interesting because when you look at these stills, you remember all these stories from the Endurance. And one story I remember was that the smallest guy in the team, a guy called Hussey, he used to play the banjo. It was his turn at the wheel, and the big thing they feared when they're at the wheel was in case the wheel gave a kick. If a piece of ice hit the rudder, and the wheel would really kick hard. And sure enough, it happened to him. He was gripping the wheel hard. It got a slam of ice against the rudder. He caught the kick, and he went flying. He walked away with just a few bruises, no broken bones or anything. So just right there, you can just see a little white thing beside the wheel. That's the apparatus that they use to measure the depth of water beneath the ship. You've got to remember when you're in a ship at sea, it's pretty important to know where the land is. Very often the nearest land is right beneath your keel, so you want to know it's there. So you send down a wire with a weight on it that tells you how far away the land is, how deep they are. And oh yeah, right, Tim. Yeah, look at that porthole. That porthole there on the starboard side. On the other side of that, well, that was Shackleton's cabin. That's the great man lived. His bed was alongside the ship, and he had a poem on the wall between his two portholes, which was by Rudyard Kipling. It was called If. Look it up when you get home this evening. It's worth a read. Oh, look at the door there. It's like a back wing door, two leaves to it. Both doors are there, but you can see the steps going down. And if you look within the doorway there's a series of little, what we call pigeonholes. And those pigeonholes took the signal flags, which they put up the mast when they wanted to communicate with another ship or whatever reason. That's where the flags were. Right.
Great. Let's go to the next photo.
I think it's really amazing just to be able to see that. And I know, Mensun, I've heard you talk about this before, about how amazing it is that the clarity of the water and also how well preserved the ship is. So I'm wondering if you can tell some of our students about that.
Yeah, I mean, the Weddell Sea has, I'm sure Chad will confirm this, the clearest water in the whole world. That I've heard it said and seen it written that you can actually see, believe it or not, 80 meters underwater. And if you're a diver, that's almost unheard of. So the water was incredibly clear. But also the seas of the Weddell Seas are just perfect for the preservation of wood. There are no wood-consuming marine parasites in the Weddell Sea. By that I mean there are no worms, no gribble worms or tornado worms that eat wood. So look at that picture there. I mean, the woodwork is absolutely fresh. What you're seeing there is her original paintwork. That's incredible. And you can look at the varnish. You can see the caulking between the seams there, can't you, Chad? And it's just unbelievable. You never see that with shipwrecks. I mean, Chad and I, over the years, have seen, I don't know, loads and loads and loads of shipwrecks, wooden shipwrecks, but nothing.
Pristine preservation.
Yeah. In my entire career, since I was 27 years old, I've spent all my adult life looking at, studying, excavating, surveying shipwrecks, but never have I seen a shipwreck like this. It's unbelievable.
And it's sitting perfectly upright. What would you have thought the chances were that it was sitting just perfectly, as though it just rested very gently on the ocean floor so deep below?
Well, actually, I kind of did sort of expect that. If we found the wreck, we discussed it a lot, didn't we?
Yeah.
But you remember she had a lot of broken masts and things on the top deck. So when she sank, those masts would be trailing behind her, and they would impose a lot of drag on the ship as it was sinking through the water column. And then you have to think of the shape of the ship. You know, it's kind of streamlined from the keel going up the sides. It's like that.
And
So-
forced.
And yeah, absolutely so. And she probably stuck a little down at the bow, didn't she? Because we had those bow waves of mud on the seabed, which again is perhaps not too surprising because when she sank, she went down at an angle of 45 degrees bow first.
And then that depth gave it the momentum it needed when it hit.
And of course the anchors and all of that chain were there right in the bow. Yeah. So it's quite an impact crater on the seabed there. You don't see it in these photographs, but it is there. But you know, to see us sitting upright and intact like that in that state of preservation, it's just mind-blowing.
It absolutely is, and I would love to for us to be able to share some more images and some more of the stories, but this as much as this is about this celebrating this amazing discovery, I do want to make sure that we also celebrate the fact that we have had students along this whole thing. As Tim, as you were mentioning, we have over 1,000 classrooms that have been following this for weeks live. We have over 25,000 students who are doing that, and we have many of those classrooms live on camera now. So before we go into some more stuff, I'd like to bring in, let's bring in maybe a couple more of those classrooms. So just so we can wave and say hi to Mensun, to Chad. You can see we have classrooms from North Carolina, from Minnesota, New Jersey, Missouri, Colorado, even Namibia, all here. So if we can all give Mensun and Chad and Tim a big wave and thank you. This is really, really amazing. All right. Amazing. So
because it goes by this.
So we're gonna bring our classrooms in a little bit later and start asking some questions, but I did want to make sure that you saw the excitement that is happening, and I'm seeing a ton of questions coming in through the chat as well that we will definitely get to in just a moment. But if I would like to maybe bring up, let's do like maybe one or two more images. We can talk through those. Maybe we can talk through a little bit about the process of discovery, since we have both of you on to be able to speak with us today about the process of what it's been like, all these hours spent of using the AUVs, of getting them to get the footage you needed and whatnot. If we can maybe talk a little bit about that whole experience.
Yeah, well, maybe Chad, you can jump in because Chad is like the hero of the backpack amongst other people. But Chad was out there in the freezing cold, within the snow, the sleet, everything, fixing anything that went wrong. But what were some of the challenges, and what was sort of the how you fixed it?
So some of the challenge, a lot of the issues we were having were obviously the ice. It was the fiber optic cable. It was a 3.5 millimeter cable, armored cable. It was, it did the job, but at the beginning we were having a lot of issues with breaking the cable and having to redo the fiber optic splice. That would have been, I guess, our weakest point. But we had a few issues with dealing with pressure and then the cold on a thruster at the beginning, and then a couple of issues with the winch. But then we got that sorted. We were just after that launching and recovering. So it was more so the fiber optics, and then the cold, and then the wind, and so on the back deck.
Can you talk for a minute about the light bulbs? Because I think the light bulbs are a great example of, like, it gives you a sense of the pressure that the AUV is under.
So the light bulbs are rated to 3,000 meters on the AUV, and we were just right at 2985 on the meters depth. And every now and then we come up back to deck and start doing our maintenance on deck, and we noticed that these light bulbs from going under the pressure were cracked, from the pressure at the deep sea. So Interesting. There you go. There's one right here.
Yeah, there's a great picture of Chad in all of his polar winter gear,
Exactly.
getting that AUV named Ellie after Elephant Island.
Yeah.
Getting the AUV ready to launch again. Can you talk about, like, after a dive, after we recovered the saber-tooth, what did you need to do in those 3 hours until it was ready to go?
In this picture right here, looks like we had just recovered because I'm in the process of reorganizing the recovery rope that's going to be secured to the top end of the AUV. And you see the two red leads on the bottom side, that's our battery charging cables. So the AUV had just been recovered. We're getting it ready to go back in the water after a 3-hour charge.
How many dives total did we do?
I believe, if I remember correctly, it was 31 dives total.
30 or 31, like 4 to 8 hour dives.
Correct.
Approximately. So that AUV was underwater a long time.
Yeah, exactly. Once we got, at the beginning we were having issues, and then we ironed the kinks out, and from that point it was just dive after dive after dive. So it wasn't on deck very long. 3 hours maximum on a battery charge, and we turned it around and went right back in the water to do the wide area search.
Yeah, spectacular. Well, how much of the search area did we end up searching before we found out?
Farm is 80%.
Yeah, well over 80%. Yeah. We were running out of time.
That was the thing.
That was the scary bit. I mean, we're down to 3-4 days left.
So every day I would walk on deck and say, "Today's the day," right? Just today's the day.
No, it used to come to me. I can smell it. I can smell it. Then
the success.
Then next day you go, "Oh, that's a pungent. It's so pungent. I can just smell it." And
Yeah,
then
the
one day
stronger-
he said nothing.
Yeah.
It was the day we found it.
Yeah, exactly. So we were down to about, I think it was 4 days remaining, right? And so every day I would come out, "Today's the day," and then that one day on the 5th, I was like, "Today's the day." But I was so optimistic, but I was worried about running out of time.
That's what counts.
Chris has a great picture up here. Mensun, can you explain what we're looking at right now?
Okay, so let's see. That's the picture of the stern there, the ship's name.
Well, where is this on the ship?
Yeah, this is right at the back. Okay, the top left screen there. Oh, I see. This is our control room.
Yeah.
I should leave this to you, Chad. I mean,
So this is the
lived
control
in there.
room. Right as you walk in the station, surveyor's hit. Top right is the multi-beam data that's coming in from R2 Sonic. Bottom right is the 4K camera feed. Like top left as well. And then also the NaviPack survey gear is on the bottom left.
Can you talk unpack what is NaviPack survey?
It's the software we use for tracking the AUV and all the survey lines and coordinate systems.
Okay, so you need to know exactly where that AUV is at all times.
That's correct.
Why is that important?
Well, just for tracking purposes, so we know where it's at, and we can always, if we lose the fiber optic line of communication, we can use the USBL system, which is a short baseline that's tied into the NaviPack to track the AUV and recover it if we have to.
Back to the ship.
Yeah, we use the dumper. So the USBL system is almost strictly a tracking system, and the dunker is going to be more of sending the command to have it, travel back to us, and so we can recover. If we were to, and that's happened a few times.
World students would recognize that as what was down in the moon pool, correct?
Yeah.
That what was going down in the moon pool helped the ship understand really exactly where, in relation to the ship,
That's
the
correct.
AUV was at all times.
Yeah.
So if we lost communication, we could get back.
That's right.
And 31 or so times we launched, 31 times we brought it right back.
Yeah, every time.
No
a couple
problem.
times it had to go with the emergency system, dumper system, but we got it back.
In place and perfect record for recovery.
That is incredible,
Chris,
and I want to.
Q&A.
Sorry, I wanted to just quickly touch on that point, that how successful and everything was. The fact that it worked well, the systems, you didn't have to go to backup or emergency plans, which I know that you had in spades. That this is really important for everyone to know that you had plans on plans, and but everything worked as planned and everything, you had your plan A's and that was enough. I think also just to remind everyone about when you're talking about the moon pool, if people remember a few live streams back, the moon pool is actually the open bit of water that you can access to the Weddell Sea from the ship. So you can actually open a small cover in the interior of the ship, and it goes directly down into that. And so we actually have some footage on the Reach the World website at reachtheworld.org where you can actually see them dropping something into that moon pool. And that was exactly what Chad was just discussing. So just want to make sure that everyone knows that there's that opportunity to be able to see that stuff. And to understand exactly the amazing stuff that Chad is doing. I want to start getting into questions and all the fun stuff there. But before we do, I think Tim and Chad, you both have some people you want to shout out because you know that they're watching today. Is that correct?
I believe so. Hey, Hadi, Kristen, everybody.
I just want to say hello and thank you to all of the students who have followed this journey. I cannot underestimate, as the person who communicated most directly with the teachers around the world who are following, I passed along all your good wishes and all your support and all of your great questions to the members of this expedition over the last few months. And I can tell you, and I hopefully speak on behalf of the whole expedition, that that support really kept us going through some of the days when it was cold and all we were seeing was empty sea bottom.
Yeah.
And you don't get to finding a wreck like this, but just the people on the ship. There are lots and lots of people who supported each of us and everybody on the ship the entire route. And we just want to say thank you to all of you. You know who you are.
Yeah, I echo that with all of the fiber of my being, and I think everyone here at Reach the World and the rest of the team that has been on board doing this and doing this work would agree with that. I do want to make sure to shout out all the different locations of people tuning in. I had mentioned we have some amazing classrooms from all over the U.S. and even the world, but we have people that are actually tuning in right now from Brooklyn, New York, from Arizona, Texas, Canada, Maryland, Illinois, Wisconsin, California, Mexico, France. So we have a very global, very, very popular, exciting audience. We have hundreds of folks that are tuning in live. It's really exciting to be able to do that. And so let's start. Let's go over to the students. Let's go over to the questions. So let's go first to St. Louis, to Miss Turley's classroom. Miss Turley, if one of your students has a question, please fire away.
Okay, thank you. So first of all, class, what do we say? 1, 2, 3. All right, Talia, come on up. I'm going to show you. All right, stand in so they can see the flag. There you go. Introduce yourself.
Hi, my name is Talia Walker, and I have a question for you.
Is the ship?
Is the ship where Shackleton left it?
Did you hear her question? She wants to know if the ship is right where Shackleton left it.
Oh, that is an excellent question.
Sorry, Chris, if there's a question coming through.
Okay.
We couldn't hear. Sorry, Chris, will you repeat?
Yeah, absolutely. So they wanted to know, is the ship where Shackleton left it? So maybe we can talk about how far away the ship was found from where the coordinates were last taken.
Okay, so where was the ship? Where was the relationship
to where it last saw?
Yeah. So in fact, if you remember, we had only one thing to go on when we started this search, and that was a set of coordinates were left to us by the ship's captain, a man called Frank Wellesley. And that was the only thing I had to start the search with. But the problem was, how accurate was it? And for reasons that are a bit complicated and long to go into, we found out that those coordinates were not quite as good as we thought they were. So the question became, well, where is she in relation to where Frank Wellesley said she was? And when we found her, she was not that far away, actually. She was 4.16 kilometers to the south. Yeah, so we looked east and west before we'd gone south, and there she was. Wonderful moment.
Wow, great question. Love the answer. It just proves how amazing the folks were. in terms of their ability to sight using mainly celestial navigation to be able to get a better sense of where the ship was going down. Let's go from St. Louis all the way to Namibia to the Literates Blue School, and let's see if we have a question there. Literates, I think you're muted.
All right. What's the question? Did you think?
Did you think you were going to find it?
Did you guys hear that one?
No, sorry.
So she wants to know, did you think you were going to find it?
Every day. I said, today is the day. But again, we were starting to clear out the whole search box, and it was the one area, the last few days that we finally moved to South Side and started searching. But yeah, we were worried a little bit toward the very end, but
I heard
it was only because we were, the amount of days we had remaining.
I heard from multiple people that it's a thing in shipwreck searching that you either find it right away, or you find it on like the last day, and that proved true once again with this search that we found it right at the last minute.
Inevitable.
Amazing. I thank you for that question. I love it because I think it speaks to how much dedication explorers need to have, how much focus and commitment to the vision. And again, credit to you all and the rest of your team for your stick-to-itiveness as you do that. Let's go from Namibia. We're going to come back over the Atlantic to North Carolina, to Salisbury, North Carolina, and see if we have a question from Salisbury Academy.
Hello, we do have a couple questions for you. Belle, why don't you go ahead and ask your question?
Were there any scary moments or crazy moments while y'all were trying to find it?
All right. So were there any scary or crazy moments when you were trying to find Endurance?
Not this time, but the first campaign. Yeah, during the first campaign, we became seriously stuck in the ice. We were worried. How many? A couple of days we were stuck.
Yeah, 3 days.
Oh my God, it was getting. We were concerned, to say the least.
I think for this expedition, it was the first time the fiber optic cable broke. And quick thinking of my colleagues and some engineers to get together, and we loaded the dumper system to get it back in.
Or that first dive when you had the pressure problems, remember?
Yeah.
I thought this would be the pattern of everything.
Right.
And it wasn't. The vehicle,
Like I said, it was the first few dives that really gave us a scare. But once we ironed out the kinks and everything else, it was great after that.
It's so nice to be on the other side of that, isn't it? And you can reflect and laugh about it.
Stress levels were pretty high at that time. But
it's also worth noting in this situation that finding the wreck was, one part of a very challenging multi-layer problem. Just getting the ship where it needed to be was a challenge sometimes. Watching the weather constantly, watching the ice situation, making sure that we had a route out of the Weddell Sea so we didn't get trapped in the Weddell Sea for the winter. But, we sort of planned for a lot of that by picking this amazing ship that we're on, which just plowed right through that Weddell Sea and got us out in no time yesterday.
And, you also have all the, if we could work on the deck or use the vessel, we'd all the contingencies that were thought of by Nico Vincent, you know what I mean? The ice camp, it would have had to do it or anything like that. So,
yeah.
Amazing. And we're about to.
Good question, Salisbury. Thank you.
It's a great question. So we're going to switch now to Hasbrook Heights, New Jersey, to Miss Schaefer's 5th grade classroom. I know they have been extremely dedicated. They're getting ready to go to lunch, so we want to make sure that they have a chance to ask their question. So Ms. Schaefer, what do you got?
How did the ship didn't decay over time?
All right. So So my friends aboard the Agulhas-2, why didn't the ship decay over time?
Okay, so yeah, a couple of things there. I mean, the main thing was that there were no wood-consuming organisms there that eat their way through the wood. No worms, no shipworm, no gribble worms. Yeah, and nothing there which consumed, but that was the main thing. The cold was, of course, important as well. The depth certainly helps because it keeps away all the fish and things like that. There's not a lot of life down there that we can see. There's a lot of life there we cannot see, but there's nothing down there that's really iniquitous to the ship. We're very lucky because normally you don't see shipwrecks like that, I tell you. And the fact that she held together, you know, there's this enormous impact and the release of energy when she hit the seabed. And Chad and I, we could think of many wrecks where wooden wrecks too, in other parts of the world, where the wooden ship just hit the seabed and whoom, opened up like that, or broke sort of thwartships across. But she held together beautifully, and that's because of the strength of her primary construction. Yeah, great tribute to the shipbuilder. Yeah, she was built for the ice, wasn't she?
It's an incredibly built ship that we can see it even in the footage that we've been able to see today. So I want to bring up Miss Oakes's class. We're going all the way to Minnesota. And as we get Miss Oakes's class ready to go, I want to mention we've seen some questions in the chat about who the descendants are of the different members of the expedition, and some questions about that, which is really great to see. There are descendants of many of the members of the crew, and it's important to note that one of the most amazing aspects of the Endurance, the Imperial Trans-Antarctic Expedition, where the Endurance sank in 1915, everyone on the Endurance survived. And it just is yet another testament to the leadership ability and the dedication of not only the boss, Sir Ernest Shackleton, and the rest of the crew. Okay, so let's go to Minnesota. Miss Oakes's class. Okay, fire away, Miss Oakes.
All right, say it again.
What's the most interesting thing you found out about the Endurance?
That's a good one. So what is the most interesting thing you found out about the Endurance?
Just surprisingly, the way it's sitting on the seabed, you know, in its present state.
Yeah, it's just the general disposition and appearance of the ship. I mean, it's incredible. I suppose it was a little minute. I remember sitting with you one day at dinner, and you flashed up a picture for me on the phone. It was of that boot that was laying there in the ship. And then there was the time we were looking, all of a sudden the crockery was there, the boots and the cups. And those moments you kind of make a kind of montage with the people on the Endurance. But that boot there in the middle of the ship, that was quite a moment.
Yeah.
That was interesting, yeah. And we could look down into where the cabins were, and because I know, you know, they've got 8 portholes along each side, and I know whose cabin is behind each porthole. That was kind of nice, you know. That was, and we could see our reflection in the glass of the portholes. That was the incredible thing. You could see the AUV sort of swimming by there.
You know, thanks to Frank Hurley's famous photographs, we know, like, to me at least, as someone who's looked at those photographs and studied this expedition, seeing those places on the real ship makes an instant connection to the photographs. You're like, oh, that's where that photo was taken. You know, you can imagine these people from 107 years ago standing in this spot on the ship, and because the ship is in such a great state of preservation, it's even easier to remember because it looks like it just sank yesterday. So
if we were to raise it up, we could sail it off to South Georgia or something. Interesting thought.
It's just the amazing nature of the ship is incredible. I want to switch now. I'll come over from Minnesota to New Jersey, to Sayreville, New Jersey, to Ms. Hawkinjoe's class. I know your students have been extremely patient. They actually waited through lunch so they could sit in on the very first part of this. I can see the amazing Endurance22 flag in the background. We love seeing that. So do you have a question for our amazing folks aboard the SA Agulhas 2?
All right. Hi, my name is Susanna. I want to say congratulations. This is a big accomplishment. You finally found the ship. But now, what are your next steps from here? Is the expedition over? Is there people you still have to contact left? What are you gonna do now that you found the ship?
All right. So we have an excellent question that I was wondering as well. What's next? What are you going to do next? What are your plans? What are the next steps of the expedition? We want to know what's coming up.
Yeah. So yeah, right. We did a little day celebration out on the ice, enjoying it. Able to walk around, get off on the ship a little while, and then now we're actually heading to South Georgia Island to visit Shackleton's grave. So that's going to be an amazing in this great adventure.
Cool. Yeah, Chris, I think we actually have some pictures of our celebration on the ice. The crew, I believe it was the Chippy on board the ship, the carpenter made a sign to commemorate the arrival at the general site of Endurance and then the finding of the ship. And the crew put down a gangplank right up the side of the ship, and the ice camp team, even though we didn't really use the ice camps, set up a big mess tent. And some of the tents that would have been used to sleep on the ice. There was a soccer ball out. Yeah. I think there was some rugby. Yeah, there was some rugby being played, lots of picture taking, general celebrating, and we had a great meal on the ice. It was really a really fun day for us to all celebrate after working pretty hard for several weeks.
So step one is to celebrate. We want to always honor our accomplishments, absolutely. And then step two is to head to South Georgia to be able to pay tribute to the boss himself. And the end of the Endurance saga, when after the ship was sunk, that was where they were rescued, at the whaling station that used to be there. Really incredible. And we're sharing some of those amazing images of the ice camp, of the ship in the ice. Tim, you and I had an amazing conversation, and that we'll be able to share to Reach the World's channel very soon. We're seeing some of the great food, but I do want to make sure that we get a chance to bring in the last few classroom questions. We have some amazing questions from different members of our environment. So thank you so much, Sayreville. We're going to stay in New Jersey now. We're going to go over to Hillsdale. Ms. Paz's class, I can see you all. We have another amazing Endurance22 flag there. Ms. Paz's class, do one of your students have a question? All right. You guys have a question for us? Looks like we're having a little bit of trouble hearing you. So I think what we're going to do is we're going to see if we can get that sorted out. And for the time being, until we get that sorted out, we're going to go from New Jersey. We'll come back to you in a second. We're going to go from New Jersey to Colorado. We'll go to Boulder, Colorado to Friends School and see another flag. Love seeing that, and see if one of your students from Friends School, third graders, you have a question.
What's the most are you most excited? What piece are you most excited to find on the Endurance?
Oh, that is an excellent question. What part of Endurance, what part of the ship, what piece of it were you most excited to find or to see?
Stern, with the name on the back end, definitely the stern. That just solidified and verified everything for us.
You mean you had doubts about that?
No, not at all, but we definitely need to see that.
What we should say, Chad, is that this is quite important. We didn't touch anything. We didn't take anything. We didn't sample anything. This was non-disturbance archaeology. Yeah. So we came, we saw, we measured in detail. Now we're leaving.
Yeah. Did anything surprise you about what we found? Are there any mysteries that you've been wondering that like you immediately got the answer to when you saw the wreck?
Yeah, there were a couple of things actually, but I think perhaps the one thing that really just that was the hole in the deck. Because reading the diaries, I knew that when the ship was starting to go down, all ship's food and supplies were still within the hold. So what they tried to do was cut holes in the deck. And you remember there's that big hole that on the side it was? I know what that was there for. They hacked through the deck and they got boat hooks, stuck it down into the water to try to fish food. There was a cabin called Billabong. That forward, the ship's doctor, McElroy, the Australian photographer Hurley, and the other one was Ossie, the musician. So that hole was there, and there were a couple of other holes there as well, which I knew they cut. And you could see there are places on the deck with saw through timbers, they needed in the ice camp. So that was kind of a special moment. But again, guys, we didn't take anything, didn't touch anything. We just recorded.
I think that's
recorded. We should add a very high-tech way.
Definitely.
I mean, I heard just by others and many people as one of the most advanced surveying of a shipwreck ever.
We did a lot of side scan, multi-beam, laser scanning, high definition cameras, just everything. Every square inch of this ship, we got pictures of or a detailed scan, so we can eventually create a 3D model or just bring it to life with those scans and those sonars.
And it's millimeter accurate.
Yes.
To 10,000 feet underneath the water, you can pinpoint what something is to a millimeter accuracy. That is just amazing to me.
It's amazing to me too. So thank you so much, Friend School. We're gonna try and come back from Colorado to New Jersey to Hillsdale, see if their audio is fixed. And can't really tell. I think you might still be having some issues with your audio, but thank you so much for. I do know the class, the question that you're interested in asking, so I will ask it for you. So, did you have to change your method of finding Endurance at all? So did you come with a plan and then realize that you had to change it once you got to the search site?
I believe it was more so dealing with the drift.
Yeah, it was. We thought the problem was going to be dealing with longitude, but in the end, we realized it wasn't that at all. It was a problem with drift. Always drift. Yeah, that caught us by surprise. Yeah.
The sea ice, the sea ice drift. So we had a plan initially when we arrived. The drift, the current, surface current was drifting from southwest to southeast to northwest. So the initial survey was done in the first AUV survey was done in the southeast corner. During that dive, we had already started experiencing where the current was changing direction. So from that point, we had to really start planning according to the drift of the models of the forecast and everything else. So that was another big issue that we were dealing with, constantly changing direction and had to go different areas of the search box to compensate for the ice flow.
Wow. I think that's really, it's so amazing that you were able to even be able to limit your search box and to then just so methodically, so focused on getting these things done. So it's just incredible the work that you all are doing. So thank you so much, Ms. Paz's class. I know we're running a little bit low on time. So I do want to try and see if we can very quickly go through some of the questions that we've gotten from the chat. So we're going to try and very briefly go through some of these questions. So one question that we really liked was, how do you think Shackleton felt? How do you think Shackleton would feel about the success of your mission?
Yeah, I think he'd be quite proud of us.
Definitely.
Yeah,
definitely.
See the back deck there, going to gear on it.
5 layers.
This is the first time I've seen Chad like this. I mean, seriously, last time I was in South Africa. I mean, it's completely just, it was like a bank roll.
Yeah.
Just your eyes. And,
Cold on the back, so you had to layer up and cover your face and everything.
yeah. But do you remember that night I was out there with you and you pointed like that to the tether? And I looked at the tether and the water on the tether frozen.
Frozen.
In the time it took for that cable to come up out of the water to go onto the drum, a minute and a half, it frozen.
Yeah.
But who was the guy whose eyelids froze solid?
Oh, I'm not sure.
Yeah, no, there was a photograph of it. It was so cold that the cold was biting at his eyes. And he started, and he started to cry from the cold. And then the cold froze tears, and that sealed his eyes closed. I shouldn't be laughing like this, but it is kind of funny now. At the time, it was quite worrying. That's how cold it was.
So
the chip hammer.
So we got, I mean, to a limited extent, we got a taste of what Shackleton and the Endurance crew dealt with. We obviously didn't have the same hardship. We had plenty of hot drinks and, go inside and warm up. Cold. But I think there's a great connection to history that when you get out on the ice or you spend a cold night on the back deck, you get a deeper appreciation for what Shackleton went through. And for that reason, I think I agree. I think Shackleton would be would say we endure.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
That's it.
And the fact that the entire crew aboard the Endurance survived, and that with relatively minimal injuries. I think the worst was that I believe Perce Blackborough, the stowaway aboard, lost a few toes, and that was for the most part the extent of the injury, even being out exposed on the open ocean, frozen and open ocean for so long. There's a number of questions that we've also gotten in the chat about whether there's any plan or intent, or if you had gone into the ship. So I know that there's a lot of questions about, because there's some open hatches, that maybe there's a chance for exploration there. So can you tell us a little bit about that and maybe why you either can or can't?
Yeah, I mean, you're right. There were a couple of open hatches. We could look down. There's quite a lot of clutter inside, wasn't there?
Yeah.
But I suppose in decades to come, there might be technology which would allow us to enter through some of those little chinks and have a look around and not touch anything, but to photograph and illuminate what was there. There's a couple of openings on the starboard side where you can actually look into cabin areas. So it's a possibility for the future.
Amazing. So we are running low on time, and I want to make sure that we bring back all of our classrooms as we close up today. I appreciate all of the questions. We'll do our best to answer those in the future. You can always contact us at reachtheworld.org. If I could just have everyone who's on camera to say, maybe on the count of 3, give us a really big wave and a cheer. And let's celebrate the amazing work of the crew aboard the SA Agulhas 2, the expeditionary team, but especially Tim, Mensun, and Chad, who have been joining us today. So please unmute yourselves. Mute yourselves. Amazing. So, to end things with you all today, I do want to, again, on behalf of Reach the World, on behalf of the amazing organizations, the team here, and so many other people who are following this, over 1,000 classrooms, over 25,000 students who have been following this expedition with bated breath. I want to make sure to mention this is not the end. We have more live streams coming up. We have more stories to tell. As Tim and Mensun and Chad have mentioned, they are on their way to South Georgia to pay respects to the boss, Sir Ernest Shackleton's final resting place. And we have more stories to tell. There's a lot more for us to talk about and to be excited about for this expedition. That as great of an exciting experience this is to be able to share with the world, we have a lot more to do, and there's a lot more to learn, and we're excited to learn along with you. So with that, Tim, Mensun, Chad, I'll give you the final words of the day before we close out.
sum it up.
Sum it up. Okay. Well, kids, it's all about Shackleton. What's Shackleton all about? It's all about man's indomitable urge to be expanding his boundaries all the time. So, kids, listen to your teachers, aim high, think good thoughts, and you know what? Life can really be beautiful sometimes.
Ditto.
Wonderful. Well, thank you all for joining, and we'll be back very, very soon.